Hi guys, charity shop gold or garbage. This one looks pretty, but I think we could probably call it garbage. Radio controlled. Revell. Cost me £2. Why did I buy it? Well, it is four-wheel drive. There's no suspension, it's absolutely rigid, even though it sort of got all these plastic bits there. But I did rather like the idea of the proper four wheels. But I'm pretty confident it's one of these 2.4 gigahertz ones. I suppose we could call them crossover because they're not really toy grade and they're not really hobby grade. Well, in fact, they're certainly not hobby grade, but they use 2.4 gigahertz transmitter and receiver. I think. I'm going to take it apart and check, but I've given it a quick go with my usual 27 megahertz and 40 megahertz, and it's not interested. No battery cover, so I need to do something there to hold them in place. I've tried my hobby grade 2.4 gig, doesn't bind with it. I've tried this one from the Maisto Extreme Beast, it doesn't bind with that. I've tried a couple of helicopter ones that I've got, doesn't bind with them. So I'll take it apart just so we can see the receiver, but I think this is well, basically junk unless I actually change out the receiver for one that's going to recognize my transmitters. It's going to be no use at all other than parts. Right, well, it looks nice. Got the prop shaft going front to back. I'm guessing that's the drive motor. Well, let's have a look. Looks like we've got to undo all of the screws. Oh, well, it's easy enough to see the steering. And the drive. But that's our receiver. Oh, I've got crystal on it. I can't quite read what that crystal says. Looks like 8112, whatever that might be. Well, that's the white paste you usually have on a heatsink, but there's no heatsink there. See if we can see what that chip says. I can't see if there's any numbers written on that chip or not. This one we're talking about. I'll have to watch the video back and check. What does that crystal say on it? I'll just put some power onto the motors to check that they work. Okay. Keep my finger on it to stop it popping out. Okay, works that way. Come on. That'll do. Apart from my fingers being in the way. Okay, so we got steering. I'm going to have to lift it up to do the motor, aren't I? Drive motor. So, motors are fine. I say it's supposed to be a 4x4. Yes, all four wheels are driven, but there's no suspension. And I think that's probably a 2.4 receiver. But it's one of those ones that's not a typical hobby grade one. It's a toy grade 2.4, so it's not compatible with any of the transmitters I've got. Mind you, I've only got Fly Sky. What's that thing? Super RC Systems AX5S, whatever that is. That's one that doesn't bind with my Fly Sky receivers, so I just wondered if that might work, but it doesn't. So there we go, junk really. We can replace this. Stick a Fly Sky receiver in there and a couple of ESCs. And it'll work. But if I just bought this off the shelf for one of my grandsons, they'd be pretty upset because it certainly won't work without a proper transmitter. I'll put it back together now. Well, I was going to put it back together and put it away in stock or store, but I've decided I'm going to stick some ESCs on it. See if we can get it running with a proper hobby grade receiver. One of my Fly Sky receivers and some cheap ESCs. So I'm going to put these connectors onto the two motors so we can plug them into the ESCs. It would be handy if we didn't need to have this plastic plate sitting on top, so we've got access to everything. But it actually holds the steering in place, so we can't do without it. I'll have to melt some holes in it so the wires can go through. Yeah. Because that means it won't be waterproof. Well, I don't think it's waterproof anyway. It's just fairly well covered. And while we're at it, might as well put a connector on there for a LiPo battery, haven't we? And sit that on top. Right, just solder that on there. Same on the other one. Just looking here, it looks like we can actually take the battery box out. Well, that's handy. Yeah. So I can stick a LiPo connector through there and we can put a LiPo in here. I have to strap it in place somehow. We need to run 2 ESCs off one LiPo battery. So I'm going to make a little Y piece or splitter. One male connector to 2 female connectors. So those will go into the 2 ESCs and that will plug into the LiPo battery. So obviously black to those 2 blacks and red to those 2 reds. Well, that's the main soldering done. So we've got that lead and connector go to the main drive motor. That lead and connector go to the steering motor. These 2 leads are teed together, so they go through to the battery box underneath, through the on-off switch, so we can still turn it on and off with that switch. So now we've got to figure out where we're going to put everything, because we're not going to get 2 ESCs and the receiver into that little box, or at least not very easily. So we'll probably have to cut a hole in it and have them all sitting up on top. Just for test purposes, I've got the ESCs in place, got the receiver in place, got the transmitter. Just need to get round here and hold that in place, otherwise the steering falls apart. Power on. Right, that's the drive motor, so I've got the ESCs swapped over. Let's change that one to that one. So that's the drive motor, that's the drive motor, that's the steering, that's the steering. Makes life a lot easier if we have them the right way round. Power back on again. So I've got those reversed. That's not impossible to fix. And I've got forwards and backwards reversed. Yeah. Might want to put the brake on there, thinking about it. I'll think about that. Steering, what happened to the steering? That seemed to stop working for some reason. Why's that stopped working? Back up together. That took a lot longer than it should have done, because the ESC I was using for the steering was faulty. So I had to swap that out. So I've got steering now, but that meant that the ESC that I've got left for the drive motor is one of those ones with the brake on it that you can't switch off. So forward, no problem, but reverse, I've got to do the all the way to the back and then forwards again, so that we can actually get reverse. So it's all the way back, forwards, and then yeah, it's not reliable. Yeah, there we are. I've actually got to get the trim all the way to the back as well, otherwise it doesn't work at all. If I was using a different transmitter it'd be fine, because I could actually set it so we got the full throws, but the FlySky FST4B doesn't give you the full throws. Normally you switch the brake off by going all the way to the back and then forwards again, and you should be able to get reverse. Yeah. Oh, it's such a pain. I suppose I could always rebind that receiver to the other transmitter. Come on. There, yeah. Completely unreliable on this transmitter. Still, that's probably good enough to go and try it outdoors somewhere.
Hey, thanks for watching. There's plenty of videos on my main channel with more added daily, so don't forget to subscribe and enable the notifications to keep you up to date with my new releases. You can help keep my channel running by donating $1 on Patreon to buy me coffee. You can always find more information in the video description. Thanks again for watching.